So we are live, right? Yes.
And then you go.
Yeah, but we are live.
No, we're not.
Yeah, we do.
No, we're not. Are we?
Yes, we do.
No. Are we live?
Yes.
No, come on. You don't surprise me that way.
But hello everyone. In that case, if we are live,
Okay.
I was beatboxing, waiting for the thing to start. I hope you didn't hear that. It was rather lame.
You don't know. You judge it. I don't know.
Bah,
Maybe it was cool. Let's see what people think.
You judge me.
I will judge. I was thinking, like, how can we make this meetup viral? Right? We come here and maybe we need some kind of tricks to make it viral. And then I thought maybe I should apply the Will Smith thing.
No, don't slap me, please. don't slap me.
Maybe we should do that and make it look real, and then it will go viral. It's good for the whole thing.
Yeah, we had this discussion. We had the discussion about the Will Smith thing yesterday because Alex basically on Slack Will Smith me, like said me. It's like that's inside joke. No one will understand what's happening there. So
how about we do that? It's good for viral.
No,
No
je suis
effect
pas chaud.
for-
No, I'm not down.
But do you
for
think
being
so? The whole
getting slapped.
question that people are asking, like, was it acted or was it real?
No, it's not acted. I'm sure it's not.
Come on, it was acted.
No, the guy apologized on social media.
Who?
Will Smith.
Of course he has to.
Yeah, but like I don't
If
think
it's an
acted.
act or not.
No.
How many people in the chat think that it was completely acted, and how many people think that it was natural? It happened that way. I mean, we're talking here about
Will Smith and Chris Rock thing
Yes.
about the Oscars.
yeah.
Ouais. That's good. That's good TV though.
Sorry,
That's good TV.
what do you mean?
Entertainment. I mean, like
People
everyone,
slapping each
yeah.
other. Yeah.
So how do you want to go about it? Like today
I
we'll
don't know.
talk about Next, mostly. The main topic of this meetup will be about it because we have made quite some work in different areas of the product and different properties of the company to basically improve the developer experience with Next. In the last months we did different improvement, different releases that basically go into that direction. I will present them in the program that is just, I never know, this hand here, just here. We'll talk about product update that we've done through Slice Machine, new kits that we released, new documentation that we released, and all that basically having a line that we follow, and that is basically on improving the overall developer experience with Next. But maybe to start this meetup, what would be good is to understand what technology you're using and what is the one that you prefer. Are you a Next.js developer, a Next.js, non-technical at all, jQuery, HTML1?
I remember the time where we had to make choices, right, in Prismic. So we went through different things. We started with, we said, like, okay, let's focus completely on JavaScript. That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And then we thought, like, okay, now on top of JavaScript, what we want to focus on, and then we talked about React and Vue, and then we said, like, no, on top of that, what are the things that we want to focus on? And there were Gatsby and Next and Nux and others, and then we took a bet on the fact that Next is something important, and we wanted to put more energy into that. And actually, the talks that we had with, I don't know, back at the time with Guillermo, with Tim, allowed us to understand, like, okay, we had a lot of trust in what they're doing, and it seemed that it's a good bet. And today we're seeing that it was a good bet, right?
Yeah.
Now it's always as a company that has, we produce a tools on top of a framework, right? And that's, we have always to be careful about making good choices there. And you always have to think about, okay, what is the next thing that I have to be thinking about or preparing for? Well, next thing, we don't want to say next here, but I couldn't avoid it. The frameworks are going to come after that we should be preparing for, or like we should be looking into. So also that's another question that we might ask people, like, what is your current framework that you use for building your websites? And
what is one that you're getting
enthusiastic about? You think that
putting
you're watching and you think that it's worth looking at. I heard Remix is a good one.
Astro also, I heard a lot about
see what people
those
think.
two. So like, yeah, if you in the chat, if you can maybe drop like what's the current framework that you use for your different project in production, and what's the upcoming one that you see taking over maybe next, or some that are
Yeah, like I see Svelte.
yeah.
Sim is talking about the Svelte. Yeah, that will be interesting. Maybe we should watch other things. But anyway, today is more about Next, right?
It's more about Next. And so maybe that's the moment where I present a bit the program, and we go basically about what will be the main items that we'll discuss.
So I just to tell you from the chat, I see, as I told you, Svelte from Sim, and say Jason Clark says +1 for Svelte. There are some people for Svelte. I know Sam loves Svelte, right?
Yeah.
We're right.
But Sam will join us a bit later in the meetup,
yes.
so we might talk a bit quickly about Svelte, and we could get his opinion on this.
I see Toys and Gru are using Next.js. Makes sense. The whole
And
meeting is about it.
Yeah, I'm thinking that Next is the next one.
It's always the next, maybe. Next is always the next. Anyways,
The program?
go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, you went through the program, right? Already?
No, not
Really?
really in details, but I just like went over it, but I can maybe rediscuss it quickly.
Yes, go ahead.
So first thing, we'll discuss product updates, and we'll discuss mainly product update that we brought to Slice Machine, and in relation with Next developer experience and generally developer experience. As you know, Slice Machine is really heavily focused on developer experience. So that will be the first point. The second point will be about some details on open source, basically. Open source update that Angelo will come from Hawaii and present to us. So basically, new release on kits, SDKs, everything related to Next, and the new tools that we provide for our Next developer, and how we can improve the and how we worked on improving the developer experience for Next. And the last part will be about the release of our new documentation, and of Next.js. And basically, Sam will also come not only discuss the new documentation, but also the thinking process and why we've redone this documentation, and the main insights on how it's structured and why it's structured this way. And so Sam will just also jump on the call and be able to present us the work that they have done with the education team. After that, we'll discuss also a project, website of the month, like we do every month. So Simon will jump in, he's there in the corner of the studio, and we'll present basically the website of the month. That is also a website made with Slice Machine and with Next. And so basically we'll keep this thematic during the whole meetup about Next improvement and Next success that people are getting with Slice Machine and Next.js. So more comments about new technology?
No, but I would like to also not only about talking about the current technology that you use for websites, for your websites, and the ones that are you interested in. But I would like also to have, if you guys in the chat have any questions, any comments about how you use Next on its own or together with Prismic. Please feel free to start writing, and we will take these questions as they come, and if we can, then we will take them by the end of the session. So use your keyboards.
And it's always more a pleasure for us to get questions, to get chat, to get interaction, than just going along this discussion about just presenting elements. So if you want to ask us any question or stop us into any points, please let us know, and we'll stop on that. So maybe that's the time now to jump into the first section of the meetup and to discuss product updates. So the team here at Prismic, and more precisely the team working on Slice Machine, released 4 updates since the last meetup that we had in February. the main one being about, and as you know, like Slice Machine is being developed for now a year and a half and tested by a lot of people. Like everyone is pretty enthusiastic about Slice Machine, are providing very, very good feedback and very good insights on how we can improve the product. And so this month was marked a very important milestone for Slice Machine and Prismic, in the sense that Slice Machine is now becoming the default way of using Prismic, and now on building basically the model that you create when you use Prismic. That's
So I'm curious, before we go into this, how many people already, how many people are already using Slice Machine in the chat, and how many people are using Prismic but not Slice Machine? If you're using Prismic but not Slice Machine yet, can you please drop a line in the comments so that we know and we can address things that are important to you? If you're already using Slice Machine and you're looking for the improvement and the things that we're doing, then please also drop a line, and then we can understand what's important for you, and then we can address that. And if you don't know what a Slice Machine is, that there's room for you as well. So basically just tell us, I would like an introduction to what Slice Machine is. I would like to understand what is it, and we'll be more than happy to give you a quick introduction into that and give you the resources that will help you understand why is it important, and why so many people are finding it a very good way for developing websites. So I see some people already already on Slice Machine. I see Rodrigo and Gru and no Nasties are loving and already on Slice Machine. A lot of people already using Slice Machine. I see Jason is not using Slice Machine in production, working on adding it in our staging environment. That's nice. So I would be interested in knowing what's the progress in there, and what are the bottlenecks or the things that are slowing down from adding it to your staging environment. I'm glad that you're doing it. I'm very curious, and maybe someone can reach out to you and understand what are the best the biggest challenges, right? You're having bring it into an existing project. I feel. I see also that I have hard time pronouncing Bimircola. Slice Machine, though, with a lot of projects, since there is no migration ability, have to use Prismic without Slice Machine. So they are related, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we can, address a little bit your questions. Please tell us what are the hardest parts of migration for you for Slice Machine.
Now that I think about it, like you say, hard time pronouncing it, I guess you will like the website of the month, and you will be the one. You will be the one pronouncing the name.
No. It's Simon trained for it, so I'm not going. I'm not going into that. So okay, I'm loving the fact that we have quite some people into already Slice Machine. Some people want to put it, but they want a migration path.
For sure.
Some people more courageous than the others are like going into the wild, like Jason, and he's already trying to put it in their staging environment. That's awesome. That's lovely, and I would like to hear your experience about it. But that's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's anyway something that we see, like more and more people interested in. More and more people interested in using Slice Machine in production and on project. Even former user of Prismic that knew Prismic before Slice Machine arrived, and so that's something that we have on our radar. That's something that we will address during this year to provide the migration path to Slice Machine. Now, we thought that the first step that was interesting and that would bring a lot of value to user will be to ease the transition path for new repository, and so that's why we've released last month a new onboarding flow and basically a new screen and a new path for all new repository created with Next and Next to basically use Slice Machine as the default new builder. Basically now, as soon as you create a new repository with Next and Next, you will not see the custom type builder anymore in the writing room. You will have only by default Slice Machine builder, And basically the overall experience of modeling your content, creating your slices, iterating on them will be solely through Slice Machine.
And tied inside your code, basically.
Exactly. Because that's the main thing that for people that don't know, that's one of the big things that Slice Machine brings to you is that when you model your content and you model your custom types and you model your slice, the model will live with your code. But basically when you add a new title and then you edit your component, your code and your model are always in sync. Your code is the source of truth of basically your data model and your component. And so basically if you want to roll back and get to another version of your model, you can just revert a commit, go back to a previous version of your code and then push again this model and then just revert back your changes.
Basically, that's a little intro into one of the values of Slice Machine. Yeah.
Exactly.
So you're saying that started with when?
It was starting last 10 started 10 days ago, I guess, not this week but the previous week.
Right. Every new repository
with Next and Next.
Do you have
the screen?
Yeah,
it's here. It's here. So basically for all new Next and Next repository, we'll now see this screen that will direct you to and give you the different indication for you to type install Slice Machine in your Next and Next project and then run it so that you can start modeling and sending your custom types and your slice directly to your Prismic repository. And so that's the new screen that you will see now if you create a Next or new Next Next repository.
So I would like to answer one of the things that you might think is okay, what does that mean? Okay, all repository, all the traffic is going into Slice Machine.
Mm-hmm.
This means that we made a decision. This is the time where we put it as the default path, right?
Yeah.
We said it's a default path. But did you observe the numbers?
Yes.
Did you look at what that makes? Do people continue working on Slice Machine, or do people stop working with Prismic because of this new path?
No. The thing, we take our product decision with data, and so we compared basically the different samples that we had, and so what we see now and what we were seeing before anyway was that basically people will achieve more by using Slice Machine. They will be able to basically arrive at a stage where they have a project that is running, connected with a Prismic repository, creating custom types, creating documents faster and in a more efficient way now than before.
Mm-hmm.
There is maybe a downside about this, that is that non-technical people cannot model their content anymore and cannot create document anymore because they have to access the code, and it might be more complicated. But we see that today, basically, for new users that are creating a repository today, they are just performing better and they are managing to get better, to get farther than.
So through data, we observed that. Yeah, we observed that it's even improving. It's what we expected actually.
Yeah.
And it's proving through data is that it's improving how much people achieve when they're working with Prismic.
Exactly.
That's good. Which means for you, it's not a risk factor anymore. This is a time where you can think of moving to Slice Machine as a viable option for a new project.
That's for sure. And that's something that is important to say, is that we've stabilized Slice Machine a few months ago. I would say a quarter ago. But then since then, we just kept on iterating on simplifying the use of Slice Machine, on simplifying some concepts. We did very, very important release during the last 3 months on improving the developer experience and improving, for example, how to preview your slice and how to iterate on them, and on stabilizing the product, on removing bugs, on improving the UI and the UX. And so at the end, that's why we came down to, by looking at data, to see that basically the data were very good, that the feedback was really good. And so on thinking about, okay, we know that we have huge plans for Slice Machine. We have tons of ideas to continue improving it, but now that's the moment where we make it the default choice, basically, and the default way.
Yeah. And by the way, there from time to time you will see this when you're using Slice Machine. You see this little thing that pops up to ask you for rating your experience, right? I know sometimes we are in our focus and we want to achieve things and these things like is a little bit annoying because you want to keep your focus. But if you can spare us like a few seconds, just to rate your experience and to give us any comment that you think is important at that moment where it appears, it helps us so much, because then you will understand where to help you and where to improve stuff. So, and that will helps you also achieve more. So if you can interact with this, that will be great.
Yeah.
So what's the next thing we wanted to talk
but
about?
Just on Slice Machine, one of the big and important change is the fact that the new version and the latest version are now supporting also, and that will come into details with Angelo, but the new version of Slice Machine are now supporting also the latest version of the kits that we've released for Next.js and Next. The thing is, it still continues to support the previous version. It's still backward compatible, so that if you started your project previously, before those kits were supported and released, it's still working properly. But now, basically, the new Next, if you create a new Slice Machine project, it will be by default with the new Next kit that support TypeScript by default, so meaning that we are bringing now TypeScript support into Slice Machine, like improve the overall experience of for you to just develop with Next, and this Angelo will detail it a bit more just after. All the hints and code snippet that we provide are now supporting the new Next kit. So basically, all the experience that you are having when using Slice Machine is aligned with these new releases, and so will greatly improve your developer experience when you use Next.js. And that comes also with another point, is that we are iterating a lot and reworking a lot our different screens and trying to improve the overall UI of the interface. So we brought different changes that we think are important and on which we will continue to iterate. We changed the custom type page so that we can provide, we can show you more custom types at once by changing the layout of the custom types. We've put in place clearer and simpler empty state to guide you on understanding the different concepts, like what is a custom type, what is a slice, etc. And we are also investing now pretty intensively on providing documentation in the tool. And the first initiative that we are putting in place is to provide video tutorials to present to you the interface and the tool. And so you now have access basically on the main navigation to a set of videos that will just keep on popping during the next few days and weeks. And that will be here to help you build a project with Slice Machine and Prismic.
Is it contextualized? Does it depend on?
No, it's video tutorial. It's like a general like set of video tutorials. And yeah, that's it for the product update and for Slice Machine. So what I can do is strongly encourage you to basically install the latest version of Slice Machine by typing the command that you see just here. npm install save dev Slice Machine latest. If you want to see what's included in the latest version, you can check the changelog directly in Slice Machine currently. But by typing this command in your project, you will be able to get basically all the latest update that I described and more, like bug fixes, small updates, and a lot of things like this.
All right, that's really cool.
Do we have any question on the chat?
There are a few questions about renaming slices, and there's Jason who's asking, how can I import existing slices that were not Slice Machine? I guess we need to kind of maybe, I don't know, after some iterations start building guides and migration path for people to understand what's the best way to
for sure
to migrate existing projects.
That's for sure. And that's something that, as I said, is on our radar. We know that it's a friction point for some people, so that's something that we'll address for sure.
But I would say, like Jason, if you can ask these questions, exactly this question, go and ask it in the forum. We'll provide an answer for you, and that will be also helpful for everyone. So you can help us by asking this question on the forum, because now I can tell you, maybe I can make up something for helping you in importing the 150 custom slices. I guess the best is, like, if you ask it in the forum, we'll have a more worked out answer for you, and then that will be very useful for the rest of the community, right?
Yeah, and I know that I know that also some people from the team created some scripts to migrate, for example, the model from a regular slice to a shared slice and some stuff like that. So if it's really a critical problem for you, we might find you also help and provide you help on doing that through the forum. And so, yeah, that's the main thing. Like, if you have any more questions, please don't hesitate to drop them on the forum or on the chat, and we might answer them during the meetup. Is it cold in the office? Renaud has its coat on.
You have your coat on. No, it's raining in the office.
In the office.
In the office, it's raining. Now, right now. That's why you have your coat on.
Well, I didn't even
think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you're waiting for questions? What's next?
No, I was looking for the chat to see if there is any more question. But the next part basically will be, so I touched quickly about the fact that Slice Machine is now supporting the new Next SDK, and basically some of the developer experience improvement that it brings to Slice Machine user and to Prismic user. And so now we'll have basically Angelo describing us everything that is brought by this release, and basically all the improvement that you can expect with the new version of the kits. And so I let.
And by the way, Angelo is around. I don't know whatever time is it. I guess it's like what is 6 in the morning or something. Yeah. Well, thanks you for being here, Angelo.
So let's go for Angelo, right?
Hey everyone,
Cool.
My name's Angelo. I'm a senior developer experience engineer here at Prismic. I'm here today to introduce to you a new Next.js integration for all Prismic projects. We're calling this integration Prismic.io/Next. So I'm going to go over a few things with you. So first of all, what is it? Next, we're going to see it in action with a quick demo. And then lastly, what are your next steps now that this integration is available? Okay, so first up, what is this thing? What is this new integration? Well, simply put, it is an NPM package. It can be added to any Next.js project that uses Prismic. And its main purpose is to help you set up previews very easily. So it'll work with Next.js's preview mode, and it integrates with your existing Prismic.io/client instance. In the future, this integration could support other features. For example, it might have a Next.js image component integration, but for right now, it's mainly just about making sure previews are easy to set up in your application. Okay, so let's go ahead and see it in action with a quick demo. Okay, so here you can see I have a basic blog. This is the homepage where I can see all of my blog posts. I can click into each one and read the message that I had written. So this is a Next.js website powered by Prismic, meaning I write all of this content in Prismic. I can actually put that up side by side so you can see what that looks like. Let me zoom out a bit. So here you can see I have my blog posts. I have some settings for the homepage. And let me just show you what a blog post would look like in here. So in Prismic, I have some meta information like the title, the post date, and the UID. And I'm also using slices to write my content. So if I want to have text, I have a text slice. Or if I want to have a block quote, I have a quote slice, which is what I've used here. And then at the very bottom, I have this nice image here, and that's using an image with caption slice. So pretty straightforward. So what's interesting about this website, though, is that it uses Prismic Previews, and that's what the new package implements for us. So for example, I can go into one of my blog posts here in Prismic, and I can update the text here to say something like, hey, Prismic Meetup viewers. And then I can just save it. And normally you'd have to publish it and then let the site rebuild. But now with the new package, it's really easy to implement previews. So I can just click on this eye icon. And you can see on the left side, my app is going to update with the previewed content that I just wrote. You can see it right here. Now, this hasn't been published yet. It's only something that I can see locally. Or if I had other editors, they could log into Prismic and they could also preview the same thing. But the general public wouldn't see it yet. And I can continue to make changes. So I can say like, hey everyone, hit Command S, and that's going to go ahead and save and then refresh my preview, as you can see on the left side again. So I'm going to put it back to how I had it, go ahead and save, and then I'm going to go ahead and publish it back to that original version. Okay, so let's go and see how we would actually set this up in your Next.js app. Okay, so here we have the code for the block that we were just looking at. This is a standard Next.js app that was created using Create Next App. On top of that, we've added a couple of Prismic things to it. So we have our blog pages, of course. We have slices, so we have components for each of those. And then we have a configuration file that includes some settings for our Prismic integration, including creating a new Prismic client. So I just want to show a couple of key things in this project. So first is that configuration file. So within prismic.io.js, we're exporting a couple of things. So first thing is we have our repository name. That's being exported here. And then at the very bottom, we have this function called create client. And create client, all it does is creates a Prismic client, and we'll use that in our pages to go ahead and query all of our content. Let's look at some of our pages here and how we're grabbing that content. So if I go into pages and then blog and then this dynamic route for each of our blog posts, we can see at the very bottom of this file that we're using static site generation to make these pages. So in Next.js, that means we'll have a getStaticProps function and a getStaticPaths function as well. So both of these functions will use that createClient function to create a Prismic client. And then with that client, we'll go ahead and query either the blog post that we're trying to display, or in getStaticPaths, we're going to query all of our blog posts and generate URLs for each of them. Okay, so let's go ahead and make this preview enabled. First thing we're going to do is we're going to install the new package. And you can do that by just running npm I at prismic.io/next. Okay, now that's installed. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to touch our app.js file. So app.js is used to configure things globally within your application. So for preview support, we just have to add one component, and that's called Prismic Preview. And that's going to go around the component that we have here. And it requires one prop called repository name. And so this is the name of the Prismic repository that you're using in your app. So if you remember, we're exporting that from that Prismic.io configuration file. You could also just write the name here as well. Okay, so the app.js file is configured. Let's go over to that Prismic.io file, and we're going to make this create client function preview enabled. To do that, we're first going to go ahead and import the new package. And then in create client, we're just going to call this new function called enable auto previews. And this is going to enable preview support for that client. So we'll go ahead and pass that client as one of the parameters. And we actually have to pass two other options here. So one is preview data that comes from the Next.js preview mode, and also a request object, and that'll come from the API routes that we're going to create in a bit. So to pass that kind of information to the create client function, we're going to go and add another parameter here called config, and then preview data will be from config.previewData. And likewise, we're going to do rec, we're going to do config.rec, just like that. So now let's go and update where we use create client to pass these objects. So in pages, if we go to that blog post page again, up here in getStaticProps, we're just going to query for, we're going to grab preview data, and then we're also going to pass that to create client. This only needs to be done for getStaticProps, or if you're using server-side rendering, get server-side props. GetStaticPaths does not need preview data. Okay, we actually have our home page here as well. We're going to just pass preview data in the same way. Okay, next, we're going to create two API routes, and this is what's going to handle most of that preview mode integration. So in our pages directory, we're going to create an API folder, and we'll create a file called preview.js. Now I have some of this code copied over, so I'm going to grab that. Okay, so basically what this is doing, it's a standard Next.js API route. This route is going to handle the flow from a user clicking the preview icon in Prismic. It's going to take you to the Next.js app, and then it'll redirect you to the page that, or the page for the document that's being previewed. The key part is this middle line here, set preview data. This is what's going to set up the preview data object in Next.js. Okay, next we're going to create an API route called exit preview. And again, I have that code copied here. So this one's a little simpler. It's just going to call a function called exit preview from the Prismic IO Next package. And that'll just go ahead and clear Next.js's preview mode cookie, and then also refresh the page with the non-previewed content. Okay, so that's everything set up in the code. The very last thing we need to do is configure Prismic itself to understand that we have preview set up in our app. So to do that, we can go over to our Prismic repository, and then we can go into settings, and we have this option called previews. Now I already have one set up here. I'm going to go and delete that just so we can create it again. So you can have multiples of these. You can have one for like your production server or your staging server, but we're going to do one for development. And that's just going to be our local host 3000. And we're going to put that API/preview route here. And again, that's the route that will redirect you to the page that you're trying to preview. So let's go and create my preview. And that's it. Let's go and test it out and see if it works. So to do that, I'm first going to go ahead and start the app. All right, let's check if the page is working still. It is. So let's go back into that blog post and let's make a change and preview it. Okay, so I can go back to the same piece of text I was editing before. Hey everyone. I'm going to save it, and then I can click on the preview icon. And there we go. You can see, hey everyone. All right. So hopefully that made sense to you. Next, we're going to go over what your next steps are now that this integration is available to you. So first of all, go ahead and try it out. The package is available on NPM today, so you can install it into your Next.js projects. While you're using it, we're looking for your feedback. We want to know things like, is it working well for you? Or are there other things that you wish it did that would help you out in your project? Of course, if you come across any kind of bugs while you're using it, please be sure to report that to us so that way we can fix it. You can do both of those, so you can report feedback and bugs to us on GitHub through issues. To get all the steps that I showed you today, you can check out the Prismic documentation with the link that I have shown here. The documentation has a full guide setting up Prismic Previews using the new Prismic IO/Next package that I showed you today. And that's it. So thank you, everyone. I'm really excited for everyone to try it out and let us know how it works out for you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Angelo, about all this awesome work. So basically, this new release of Prismic Next that you can now all access to and start using. This will be helping you basically setting up your preview. As Angelo says, they are willing to push for more updates and more improvements, for example, going to next images. I'm interested though to know if some of you already use maybe this version of the kit and can share, for example, their experience with it, if they managed to implement properly the preview with the new SDK.
Yeah, the thing is, like for instance, now we implemented this preview with Next in these kits, and maybe there are things that can be even simplified, but the most important thing is, like, if you used it, how hard it is to follow these different instructions. Was it easy? Were there any places where you would stop and you needed help? And that will allow us to understand what the places where we can make it even smoother.
So please, if you did use it, like, let us know in the chat. Maybe let us know, as Sadek said, your struggle. If you have a preview URL to share, awesome. Also, we'll be very happy to see the website that you've did. So don't hesitate to comment on the chat.
I have a question here.
Yeah.
I guess Larto
Okay.
is saying, is there a way of setting up preview in the deployed app instead of localhost? Example, if after we build and deploy our app to Vercel.
So yes, for sure. That's even the purpose. It's better if you can configure it like this than on localhost, so that all your marketing team will be able to basically preview the content and not only developers. And so for that, on the last part of the presentation that Angelo did, he showed a screen, that is the preview screen, where I configured and added localhost. The only thing that you have to change is basically to put the domain of your website deployed on Vercel, and this will work out of the box. I said you can change, but you can also keep the two. And basically, when you will click on the I button, Prismic will offer you to either preview
Several options, right?
Yeah, on production or
that's
locally.
really nice. So basically, you can have as many preview places as you want. The only thing is that Prismic will send some kind of token to the destination, and then the website be deployed on Vercel, different apps, right? You can have different environments, and you can test on all of them, right? So you'll have that kind of drop-down list where you can choose either localhost or Vercel
Or
number
staging.
one or staging
Yeah.
or whatever it is. So that's the whole purpose, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so yes, for sure, you just have to do that, and it will work for sure.
And on that thing, so we worked a lot on the documentation, right? To guide you through the installation of the different things, including the preview.
Preview.
Yeah. And that's something that Sam is going to talk about.
Exactly. And so maybe, but that's the moment where we bring Sam.
We can, but the thing is, like, if also the same thing about the documentation, if you feel that it's
Yeah.
helpful, please let us know. If you feel there's something missing, then we need to know about it to improve it even better. Should we bring Sam in?
I guess so.
Yeah, let's bring Sam in.
Wow, magic. Sam is here.
Hello, Sam. How long you've been waiting here?
Wow. Just like that, I'm back in Paris. Oh, that feels good.
Where are you at now?
I'm in Glasgow, which is awesome.
Do you appreciate being there?
But I like it. And, one thing that Glasgow has in common with Paris is that the bakeries are amazing. You don't think of baked goods in Scotland, and they're completely different. They're not like the fine, dainty little things that you get at the boulangerie or the patisserie in Paris. They're like these massive, sweet, like over the top, covered in icing kind of things, but like they're really incredible.
That's nice. So just for context, Sam moved lately, or it was maybe a year ago. No, maybe
Almost
6
a year
months.
ago, yeah.
Yeah, almost a year ago. Moved to Glasgow, and you were actually in Paris, and now you moved to Glasgow.
Yeah, Paris for a year and a half, and hopefully again some point in the future.
And you
I
come
hope
back,
so.
and you come back from time to time to also interview some people in the studio, and yeah, visit us also.
Cool.
That's
So
the most important part, guys.
what have you got for us?
Yeah, so this is really exciting. I mean, what we've done with Slice Machine in the last, really, it felt monumental in the last few months. We put a lot of our effort organizationally behind Slice Machine, obviously following on the leadership of you two especially, bringing the entire organization together to make Slice Machine the default path for Prismic. And so in line with that, we put a lot of work into the documentation and making the documentation Slice Machine first, but also finding areas where we could tighten up and improve the documentation. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the ways we've improved the documentation, but I also just want to say to everyone watching, this documentation is like really 100% a labor of love for you guys. So we want to know what you think of it. We want to know if you like it. We want to know what you don't like. I appreciate the love letters, but I appreciate the hate mail even more because that's really actionable. So if you look at any page of the documentation, if you scroll to the bottom, there's a feedback form. And I know those often look like they're probably just like, not actually connected to an API in the back end. This one is. That feedback form goes straight to our Slack channel, and if you include an email address, I will personally, or one of my colleagues will send you a response, and we really appreciate that feedback. So I'm going to show y'all a little bit about what we've done with the docs here. But keep in mind, if you have any feedback now on the YouTube chat or later when you're looking through the docs, please do send it our way. So yeah, it was basically, we've been doing a lot of work on the Next.js docs, especially over the last couple of years on all of our docs. 2 years ago, it was almost 2 years ago that we launched the first Slice Machine beta, which came with our first Next.js documentation. And since then, Next.js and Next were our first Slice Machine docs. So we've been really iterating those as the product has changed, and developing them and regularly rewriting them and improving them. And at the same time, about a year ago, we started doing a lot of R&D on the rest of our documentation that wasn't necessarily using Slice Machine, like Vue and Express, and looking at how to restructure it. There's a screenshot just there a second ago, if we can bring that back up, that shows how the sidebar has evolved over the last 6 months. 6 months ago, it was that first one. I'm not sure how many items there are there, maybe 25 or so. A month ago, it looked a little bit more, we had tightened it up a little bit. Those first two menus were based a lot on like specific tasks or specific features. And the third menu that you see there is what it looks like today, which we just got to in the last couple of weeks, where we're focusing more on grouping information by like larger topics.
You worked a lot on the information and architecture, right? This was a big topic.
Yes. Yeah, and it's really hard. I mean, it's really challenging to think about how to organize information in a way that's logical for yourself, but also is going to be logical for somebody coming here for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's a big difference, right? Because I felt at some point that when we are organizing for ourselves, whereas we know a lot of the things, we try to categorize more, right? Okay, these make sense because they are together and they are the same concept. Whereas when you're coming into it, you rather want things to be categorized in the progress that you're making instead of like, okay, these are related. Does it make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And so that is exactly what we tried to do. I don't know if we can bring my screen up here if you guys have access to it.
We do.
But so we've tried to structure this kind of using the logical steps that a developer would go through if they were starting a project with Prismic, a little bit, but also grouping it into like logical categories. So it's not a specific tutorial, but it's also not like a dictionary. It's kind of has a processional quality to it. And so this is one of the things that for everyone watching, we would really love feedback on. When you look at this structure, does that make sense to you? Do you understand all these items in the menu? Does this kind of mirror your development process, or does it break your flow somehow?
Yeah, I guess that's the idea. I like how you put the last bit of the question is very important, because if it feels natural, then that's good. If it feels that you have to search for things, or it's breaking the flow, as you said it, I guess this is a good sign, an important sign that there's something that we can do better, right? Because sometimes when it's well organized, it's out of the way. You don't even think about it. You're just in the flow, right?
Joseph is saying that in the chat. Basically, don't make me think. And I guess that's a good way to approach this.
So if we make you think, then throw some messages at us, right?
Yeah.
The irony is that developers hate thinking, right?
So you would make some friends in the chat.
We are all developers anyway.
Yeah, we're all developers here. We all hate thinking here. I'm joking.
We hate thinking in the wrong place, right? We're focused.
Yeah.
Please don't bring me out of my focus to think about something else that I don't need to think about right now. This is basically what you're saying, I think.
You want to be efficient. You want the quickest route from point A to point B.
Right.
So each page in the documentation, if we can bring my screen back up, it largely correspond loosely to like a specific process or a specific feature or a specific kit. So setup relates to the configuration file. Modeling is where you'll learn about Slice Machine. Fetching is where we talk about the all the methods that come from the Prismic IO/client package. Templating is where we talk about all the helpers that come from the Prismic React, which inherits helpers from Prismic IO/helpers. Define paths deals with the link resolver and route resolver, etc. Another thing that we've done here is really distinctly set apart specific use cases, which I think is something that for a lot of developers can be one of the hardest things to find. It's like, okay, I need to do SEO, I need to build a nav bar. These are things that we know you can do with Prismic, with like the basic tools that we provide, but it can be hard to figure out how to do it on your own. So we've set these on their own here, and we'll likely add to these use cases in the future, especially, again, if there's something that you want to know how to do or something that you struggle with, please drop it in the chat and let us know, and we can consider adding a specific use case for that.
And I love that, these kind of use cases, because yeah, I know how to do a nav bar, right? Or the other use cases. The problem is that when I want to do it with Prismic, there are many choices, right, that I have to do. Many little choices that I have to throw away that make my brain so noisy and not focus on the right thing, right? Because I will be like, okay, how can I do that in Prismic? Is it a document? Is it something else? What's the best way to structure a document? There are many decisions that you have to go throughout the way, and that's what makes the task much harder, because you need to constantly make decisions. If we think that there is a path that everyone uses as an optimized path, by talking about this use case and give you these little decisions, you'll be able to go way quicker than before.
That's really what we hope.
Cool. I have a question for you. In the docs, Larto says, in the docs, do you focus on adding real life examples? It was a turning point for me to understand the idea behind Prismic when I found example pages and components.
That is something, especially with the use cases, it's something that we're looking at adding, is building out these use cases so that they have workable samples to go with them. It's something that we're exploring. The example projects page that you see in the sidebar has like full fleshed out projects. And otherwise, take a look at the code snippets. Let us know if they look useful, if they look real world enough, and if you feel like it doesn't have enough of a real world connection, please just pop into the feedback form and let us know.
Cool.
And you provide to like some already sample projects that are very complete with all the queries, navigation, and elements that basically everyone can look at to go how to build a project basically with Prismic.
Exactly, and yeah, you can just explore these in GitHub. You can download these and launch them. They're fully runnable themes, so you can bootstrap them from the CLI. But we do really want to make sure that we're providing like all of the resources that you need to get started.
A larger scope basically of use cases tackled so that anyone can start. Okay.
Yeah. What else?
So if we talk about building a website, okay, or building page, building a website, what do you think is the first thing to be done? Like you did now with the docs, what was your idea? What's the first thing to be done? Like I'm starting a new project, I go to the docs, what is the first thing?
For me personally, and this is something that I want to know more about how other people do this, but for me, I always start with pen and paper. So I will literally write down, the website, think about the information architecture. That's kind of captured a little bit here in model content, which is listed as the second step because you need to do some installs first. But this is something that I think is actually really, really powerful about Prismic, is that we really encourage users to think holistically about the structure of your entire website and the elements of your website. Well, I've had a lot of experiences where I make a website and I start adding, one page at a time, and I think, oh, I need like a pull quote here, and I code a pull quote component or whatever.
Okay.
But when we're looking at content modeling, we're thinking about what's the bigger picture? What are the URL paths going to be for the website?
URL paths.
Product type.
Okay.
That's one part of it. If it's an e-commerce website, you're probably going to want product pages, which are going to be located at /product/UID. you're going to know that you want certain information on those product pages, but different information on the home page. You know, you're going to want certain components on the home page.
So this is where you say, okay, it's a different type of page between this and that, right? Or
Exactly.
maybe the same but different content. This is where you make these kind of decisions.
Or if it's a blog, you know, right off the bat, you might know that you want a blog post type. You probably want a homepage type, which will have a reverse cron list of posts, and you'll probably want an author type, which has like an author bio and a list of posts by that author.
Right, and that's why you said you put the content modeling high as the second step after just installing the framework and installing the tools, right?
Well, that's because, yeah, you do the install, you get set up with Slice Machine, and then you start modeling your content with Slice Machine, and I think it's a really natural process.
Yeah, I would love to understand how people do also in the chat. Like what you have a new website to build. What are the first steps you do in that building process? What are the first things you think about, and then how does that flow go? Yeah. Maybe it will be similar to yours. Maybe it will be different. But you know, it's interesting to know.
Another thing I'm really excited about with these docs, just for us, this is purely selfish concern, is that because we've broken it up a little bit more by topic, it means that these docs we're going to be updating these docs really quickly and regularly.
Cool.
So the aspiration is that they will be really well maintained and that they'll always have the latest information here.
Yeah. What are the other things that you wanted to talk about?
Just wanted to since I've got your ear here, and since I'm on the stage, I thought I'd mention just a little bit about what we're planning for the future with the documentation.
Cool. Yeah.
And again, this is, you know, because I want to know if this is, you know, take the opportunity to get feedback from everybody who's watching. So one of our big priorities for this year will be to make documentation specifically for content editors and content teams. So perhaps we're researching an idea of making something like a portal for content management that has information for non-technical users. Also perhaps making documentation for developers on onboarding non-technical users to Prismic and on handing off Prismic to a client. So that we could actually imagine maybe making that a tab in an active full page in the documentation. Once you've completed a project, how do you hand it off to the content team? So those are a couple of things that we're looking at for this year. But you know, the sky's the limit.
Right. So I have an answer for you, and I have a question for you. So Lardo has a question. So the example problem I'm trying to do at the beginning, I wanted to make a navigation for the landing page and didn't know what component to use. How would you find this into the docs?
If you make a navigation element for a landing page and you're not sure what component to use, so that one I feel like we've got a pretty direct answer for, because we have a navigation, an article on making nav bars. So I would just jump straight in there.
Cool, that's nice. And then for the question of how people build all the different steps, what are the steps for building a website? There is John, who's saying that the first step is model data, same as you, and then reusable components, then build sample page that shows components and data, or storybook if project will be around for long term. And then build out the sites section by section. So basically, go through the modeling, then the components, and then build some page and start building the sections. So it's a similar process, right?
Yeah, that sounds very familiar. And that's the hard part, I think, about making tools for developers, is learning what do developers have in common? What are the common struggles? What are the common processes? And so what we're trying to do here is figure that out with the product and with the documentation. Figure that out.
Yeah, with the product as well.
Where they are.
With the product as well, because Slice Machine, this is how we start with the modeling and then go slice by slice. And
exactly. And so some initiatives that we are launching also that maybe Sam didn't discuss, but like we are trying to see how we can fit as much as possible like documentation living in the product directly in Slice Machine, so that basically people don't have to jump and see also to solve and to simplify some concepts directly in the product, so that if we can make some part of the documentation irrelevant, I guess it's good. Like if we can just remove some of the parts that today are in the documentation in the product supported natively, this will be even better. So,
and that's the existential angst of being a documentation creator, is when the product gets good enough, the documentation kind of falls away a little bit, and you find yourself trying to write documentation for something that doesn't need documentation anymore, and you're like, oh no, am I going to be out of a job?
That's a good news. No, but I see, you know, I don't know if it's a good image of it, but like I see support, documentation, and product. Each, like, if product is if documentation is very good, you don't need support, right? And if the product is very well, you might not need documentation. But that's a nirvana where we'll never reach, right? There will always be something that we'll have to either document or provide support. But it's a good North Star, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. I guess. Yeah.
But no, I wanted to say thanks for all the work that you've done, because it's awesome work, you and your team, and I know that all the elements that are coming also after this release and will be also as impressive as this one, and you'll continue to improve. Maybe what's the next big milestone that you target for the doc? Like, what's the next big one?
Well, the last one, which we did the Next docs a few weeks ago, and then really quickly we got the Next docs restructured and rewritten as well. So that was a big milestone. And then now we're taking some time to kind of regroup, do some cleanup and maintenance on the docs. We're revisiting our API documentation, so we're going to publish some updates to the base level REST API docs and the GraphQL docs probably in the coming weeks. So you can watch out for that, and then we're going to do some big picture thinking.
That's cool. But thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Tom.
Thank you, guys. Nice to spend an evening in Paris with you.
Soon a real one.
I hope so.
Bye.
Okay.
I have an interesting question from Ben, who says, do you see something like Storybook being a part of the documentation for content creators? Yeah, I guess we see a lot of people that are interested in something like Storybook for content creators. We have we started the Slice Simulator, and then we want to, at some point, maybe to package it as a way to push it for editors to kind of understand what kind of sections, what kind of slices they have available, so that they mix and match from them. But there are other things that we're thinking about doing in the editor. But, you know, everything in its own time. So, yes, that's something we want to work on. That's something that we have plans for. I guess patience is what I ask you for, because there are things that are, you know, in the works.
Yeah, I would say basically not exactly what Storybook is doing, but the general problem of providing a visibility to marketing team, to editors, on seeing the slides that they can use in a better way and understand how the slides are functioning is clearly something that we have on our radar.
Yes. I can't wait. So the next thing is
basically Simon that comes and presents us a company that managed to navigate our doc and navigate our product to release an awesome project and website in production.
Yeah.
I live.
Or you I can leave my spot. No. It's every time you I will leave you with you're good buddies. I will leave you with this.
Okay, so Simon will come, basically present us a project that, as I said, managed to use Prismic, use Slice Machine, navigate the new Next.js documentation, and release this website in production. And so, with a simple magic trick, now it's Simon that is close to me. Wow.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for this great introduction, Renaud.
Yeah, but maybe introduce yourself, because I don't know if everyone here knows you.
All right.
What do you do at Prismic?
What I do many things. No, but our team, what we do, we build relationship with development agencies, studios, freelancers, to make sure they build successful projects. We teach them how to use Prismic.
And so tonight, which studio did you choose, and which project did you choose?
So tonight we have a studio agency called Colibri.
Okay.
from Iceland, Reykjavik.
Wow.
And we've been working together for like almost more than 2 years already.
Okay.
And they started back then. They didn't have Slice Machine, and since the main topic of today's discussion is Slice Machine, they actually, we've talked with them and they introduced Slice Machine to one of their clients' projects. And this project name it's hard to pronounce. Listasa. I tried to use Google Translate for this. So basically, what it is, it's a national gallery of Iceland.
Oh, nice.
And as I said, it's been built with Slice Machine, Next.js, and a CSS framework that is called Styled Components.
Okay.
And of course, guess where it was deployed?
On Vercel?
Yes.
Nice.
So it was deployed on Vercel, and
so when was it released?
it was released actually a week ago. This was
Okay.
released a week ago, and actually they also plan to integrate because this gallery has also some books to sell. So they're gonna integrate also Shopify into their Prismic instance.
Nice.
So they're gonna pull the product data into Prismic to create this, rich stories and content.
That's
about
cool.
it.
That's cool. And so what do you like about the website? Like, why did you choose this one?
I see these days like a trend, and I actually like it to have like a simple black and white design.
Yeah.
And I love this little animations when you scroll on the images. I feel like it's a great website, and people are wondering. We talk about Slice Machine a lot, and
Yeah.
We already have a lot of
Website in production? And
websites in production,
And nice ones.
yeah. And what actually we've talked with them with Nuha, and they've told that their like development workflow is actually improved drastically because they usually have like a few developers working on the project.
Okay.
And they've managed to build this CI/CD pipeline of working together on the project. It's improved their collaboration
Okay.
and generally like managing components and deploy them into production.
Okay. And so you like next project will still be with Slice Machine and with Next, and what it will be. If Colibri is coming with another project yet.
We actually talk. It's a secret. I don't know if I should talk about it. But
there's other ones. Let's keep it a secret.
Yeah, actually, our team we see adoption of Slice Machine across many development studios, freelancers, and it's great to see. So, if any of you haven't tried Slice Machine, please give it a try, and maybe you'll find it useful for you.
Okay. And so maybe we can drop your name also on the chat, so that if agency needs wants an introduction to Slice Machine and some advices, they can reach out to you and discuss it with you.
Definitely, yeah. With pleasure.
Okay.
All right.
But thanks a lot for jumping in.
Thanks
and
for inviting
presenting
me.
it.
It's my second appearance, hope not my last one.
Can you say the name of the website again?
It's called Listasha. All right. Have a good evening, everyone, or day.
Yes. And so, but I guess that's it for tonight. At least that's it for the program that we've planned for you guys. So we have a few minutes though. If you want to just have us answered some of your questions, please don't hesitate to drop them in the chat. If you want to be also showcased maybe on the next website of the month during the next meetup, please don't hesitate to reach out to Simon also and to provide the name of a website that you've made with Prismic. But we'll stay here for a few minutes if you have any questions, so please drop them in the chat, and we'll be able to answer some of them.
Right.
Let me see in the chat if there is any. So it's commenting. Okay, I'm super happy you guys created Prismic types. So definitely steps in the right direction. Cool. Okay, I cannot scroll up. Maybe I'm gonna scroll here to see if there is any more question. I'm sorry? You're sending me one? Okay, I'll check this one on my phone in that case.
And I don't know, I was wondering, since we talk a lot about Slice Machine and there is a lot of Next.js developers, do anybody has already a project with Slice Machine, live project that would be interesting to see, or your Slice library? So feel free to share it in the chat.
Okay. I have one question from Bikram Gimir that is asking how much services are free in Prismic. So actually all the basic services are free in Prismic. You can start creating a project, start creating your custom types, your slice, starting to have your website in production, getting queries, unlimited queries for free. What will make you you need to pay for basically are if you want to add more users to your repository, so a second user to your repository, or if you want to get access to some feature like roles, environments, like I'm sorry, SLA, like a different level of support, or if you want to also have an important amount of bandwidth, and so if you have a website that basically consumes a lot of bandwidth, that's when you will have to pay. And you can see anyway all our plans, they are free. They are free. You can access them on our website at prismic.io/pricing, and you will see basically what's included in the free plan, what's included in the starter simple, and all. So a lot of people are telling us that it was a lovely and very informative meeting, and that and thank us. So I guess there is not there is no more questions for tonight. So that's maybe my turn now to thank you for being there and for your interactions in the chat and for all your questions and feedback. And to remind you that basically we'll see you next month. So every month, the last Wednesday of the month, we have this meetup. So it will be the 27th of April. And so please join us. We'll be happy to see you again and see you in a month. Bye-bye.
Bye.